Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure now to introduce Florian Guillermet, the new Executive Director of EASA. Of course, Florian is not new to the aviation industry or business. In fact, he's been part of it for more than 25 years. At Eurocontrol, you've been Director of the Air Navigation Services in France. You've been the Executive Director of CESAR. And at EASA, you've been since April. So my first question would be about your agenda and your vision. What's your plan for the next few years?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot for the invitation to be here today with you. First of all, I like to see EASA as a true European success. If I look back 20 years ago, where we were in Europe in relation to aviation authority, I mean, there's been a long way, and I think it's really a success for Europe, but as well in the way we interact with the rest of the world. I think the agency is a clear asset to Europe, to its citizens, to the industry as well, because today it has a worldwide recognition. We had traditionally a golden standard in aviation, which was the FAA. I think now we have maybe two golden standards. I don't know how to put that, but for sure the recognition of the EASA ecosystem, and I think this is one of our strengths in Europe, to be able to propose an ecosystem, is incredible, and that's thanks to my predecessors, and I think I have a big shoes to fill from that standpoint. They made a great job in developing the agency, in making what it is today, which is, I think, again, a very strong instrument to promote our industry to a large extent, to promote our policies, including the safety European policies, including other policies, and including our values as well. So I do see, I will say, the start of my term as well as a way to make sure that I continue to protect this asset, to make it grow and continue to influence the rest of the world from an aviation standpoint. This being said, I have ahead of us, or ahead of me, four major challenges or strategic axes, whichever way you want to put them. The first one is in relation to safety. This is the absolute role of the agency to ensure aviation safety at all times. I believe we can never be complacent about it. That's why I always start my speeches and discussions and interviews about safety. How do we make sure we continue this endeavor to continue improving safety in our environment? This is our license to operate, as it was said quite rightly. This is as well our raison d'être to a certain extent. The safe transportation of public, of passengers, is what aviation is about, and it will not be where we are without this safety commitment. It's about the tone that we set to make sure that safety comes first, that it's embedded into the way of working of the different companies, components of the aviation system, that the safety culture is there at all level, and that we should never consider that because it was safe yesterday, it's safe today, and it will be safe tomorrow. Our environment is changing, the technology is changing, the generations are changing as well, so we have to keep a constant eye on that. This means as well that we have to bring it a different level in terms of how we gather the safety facts. Today it's pretty much manual, it's pretty much based on reporting, voluntary reporting and so on, and we are not getting the fact of the system. So I think there is a lot of improvements that we can do with new technologies in terms of improving the safety level. So that's clearly the first very strong axis that I want to pursue, and this is what I will safeguard at all costs if I have to deal with priorities. The second challenge and axis is sustainability. We've been talking about it, and there EASA is not in the driving seat. It's part of the solution, it's part of the equation. We have to respond to the proposals, the solutions that are coming and will be coming from the industry. From that standpoint, we have an historical role, which is the one of certification. We have new systems coming to us, new products coming to us. I would say the best energy that we have is the one that we don't use. So there's been a lot of efficiency gains through the design of the aircraft, through the engines improvements that have already become a reality. EASA needs to be there to certify those products to make sure that they can reach the market with the relevant level of safety, with the set of requirements that go with it. Then we have a new development which which is coming from 2 new mandates we have received in the context of Refuel EU. First one is on the monitoring and reporting of the SAF implementation, so a very important topic that was discussed in the previous panel. We have a responsibility now to collect information and make a comprehensive report about the SAF uptake in Europe. This will come in 2026, but we will start a kind of dry run as of next year. And the second mandate in relation to that is on labelization of the flights. How do you provide information to the passengers, to the traveling public about the, I would say, environmental quality of its flight? And I think this is important as well if we want to influence from a policy standpoint the decision-making of the passengers who will influence the market and drive the best behaviors and drive the best practices as well. So that's very strong. I'm not looking for new work in that domain. That's already a lot on our plate, and we want to concentrate on delivering those mandates. Beyond safety, sustainability, we have innovation. We do see a fast pace of innovation in Europe as never before, and I think that the digital transformation of all industries is now hitting aviation very hard for the good and the less good. The good is that we do see a lot of solutions which are coming that were not available before, which are creating some new challenges in terms of certification, like artificial intelligence and this type of technology. But they bring as well a lot of added value, and they can have the potential to further improve safety, typically in the cockpit by adding new functionalities that will support further the crew, in particular in certain critical situations. And there we have to adapt. We have to be ready, not too much ahead, because if we put regulatory requirements too much ahead of innovation, we would kill innovation. I mean, if we come too strong at the wrong time, there won't be place for innovation. If we are too late, we don't give enough visibility to the market. So we have to be ready at the right time. And this is work that we are doing in collaboration with Clean Aviation, with CESAR as well, quite a lot, who are bringing this innovation close to the market and close to the certification stage.
Can I just jump in and talk about safety, which is still your main mandate right now? A lot of it is fragmented in terms of incident reporting. Some of it is voluntary. In an ideal world, what would you change in Europe to make that system, that safety system that you're responsible for, even better?
So I like to see safety as a safe aircraft operated safely in a safe air transport environment. So we deal with those different compartments, and we are dealing with different range of regulatory tools, but all of them, they are relying on pretty, I would say, old-fashioned way of working, based on standards that were established 50 years ago in the aviation domain. I think we are not relying enough on fact, on the collection of data, on the identification of early signals that can help us actually to have a much more relevant approach to oversight.
But the tools are available. Why doesn't it happen anyway?
Because so far we had not created the environment to collect the information and to digest it. This is now in place through the Data for Safety initiative that the agency launched about 4 years ago. So now we have collected a very strong basis of information coming from the flight deck, coming from the airline operations, from the airports, from the surveillance information, from the radars and so on. Now we have to exploit it. And we've started to do that on a couple of use cases already. We see the power of this type of tool, but we are far from having reached a level of maturity where we are using that in your day-to-day operations.
It's also about speed, right? I mean, it doesn't help you much if you know the safety level of 2 years ago. You need to know real time.
That's part of my big frustration. I mean, I'm attending many conferences these days after how the summer was in terms of flight punctuality, in terms of fluidity of the traffic, all the problems that the airline industry was facing during the summer 2024. And I wish at some point somebody would ask me the question, was it safe? Because I know that it was not great in terms of punctuality, but was it safe?
Was it safe?
The good thing is that nobody asked me this question until this very moment.
Sorry.
The bad thing is I am totally unable to answer this question. Totally unable because we are still lagging behind, and I will be probably able to answer that question about the same time next year when we will have digested all the safety reports that are coming to us, all the the information that is being aggregated in a rather manual way. And today we just have some signals, some very small trends, but which we cannot qualify or quantify enough to make a judgment.
When will you be able to have a quicker answer for me?
I hope as of next year, because I'm engaging very strongly, again, through the Data for Safety program in having early delivery of use cases, and that's one of them.
Oh. So you touched on innovation. We have this avalanche of new projects coming up, advanced air mobility, hydrogen. Guillaume wants to launch a new narrow body at some point in the next few years, hopefully. Hydrogen, that means a lot of change for you as well as an agency. You have to certify all of that. So how does the agency need to change? And what of those new technologies which of those technologies are you most worried about or looking at most closely?
So I think one of the things that has been changed in the agency was actually the culture, and it was changed by my predecessor, and it was the fact that as an authority we don't like change, because change is unknown, change is a lot of work, and we are not keen on engaging on this kind of journey. By nature. So there's been a cultural change within the organization to put in place some elements which drive the change towards the core business of the agency through work that is going on, as I was mentioning, with joint undertakings that are active in the arena of developing these new technologies. So we are actively engaged in the shaping of the projects, in the review of the projects, in the anticipation as well on how we would evolve, for instance, the certification baseline of aircraft to cope with hydrogen, hybrid propulsion technologies. We are as well setting ourselves what we call pre-application services, where basically industry players can join us and use us a bit as I don't like this terminology for an authority, but as a consultant to help them as well, to guide them to a certain extent. And this is pretty much well compartmented. People are interested to work on that. There's a lot of appetite. And this is delivering. I mean, we are working, for instance, on the certification of the first electric engine. That will be a first in the history of aviation. This should come hopefully in the next coming weeks or months. And this is the result of all these type of activities.
So, and as far as the technologies are concerned, what are you most concerned about?
I'm not concerned per se about it. I'm more concerned about our ability to digest that, to keep as well an harmonization level with our partners. There are things in aviation, and it was quite rightly said, because it's a global business, that we need to act with other authorities around the world that do not necessarily are faced with the same level of maturity, that have as well their own way of working. I mean, with the FAA, we have engaged quite a lot, typically to harmonize on innovative air mobility and to make sure that we develop requirements from a technical standpoint that are coming to the maturity at the same time, at the same pace. I would say an area of concern is I'm always asking the team, are we asking more than the others from that standpoint? Because I see some activities that are failing in Europe that are starting to be successful in other regions. And to me, this is a very important question, that we do the right thing at the right time, and we ask ourselves and we challenge ourselves as well that we are not killing the industry, killing innovation before it is actually taking off. And that's really, I would say, one of the difficulties in this range.
The relationship with the FAA has been rough for a few years. You know all about the MAX accidents and some certification campaigns that are ongoing. How would you describe the relationship now, and how do you cooperate?
So the entire relationship, and it is very well described in the so-called EASA, which is the agreement between the EU and the US on aviation safety, is based on confidence, on the fact that we trust mutually one another to do the right things, and that we don't have to redo what the others is doing. And that's really has been the historical relationship with the FAA. This has been lost during a certain period of time. I think that today I can say we have recovered from that. We have rebuilt the confidence. We have a very transparent exchange of information. Just as an example, our team was invited to one of the inspections conducted by the FAA in a Boeing factory recently to actually witness how the inspection was conducted. So this is something which demonstrates a trustful environment. We share information in due time, which means that we learn about things, not in the newspaper, but we are informed upfront by our FAA colleagues. So I think that the relationship is established. Today I can say as well, because my engineers, they are participating to this work across the Atlantic, that the action plan that has been delivered and that is being implemented is the right thing to do, but there is a long way, obviously, to recover from the situation, I would say, from an industrial standpoint.
You described all the challenges that are coming up for EASA. How does the agency need to change? Do you need more people? Do you need different skills, different regulation?
So that was the last strategic axis I wanted to develop beyond sustainability, safety, and innovation, and thanks for getting back to that. So we have to reflect on ourselves as well. After 20 years of implementing regulation, I consider that we can look back and understand what is providing added value versus what is more compliance for the sake of compliance. And this is something we have to reconsider, so I don't know if we call it a simplification. I'm always careful to use this terminology because having worked in public administration, every time I've been told it's a simplification, it comes as an administrative nightmare. So I'm very cautious about this word. But reconsidering the way we work, making sure that we target our oversight on the basis of factual information, making sure that we put again the emphasis on compliance for the sake of safety and not compliance for the sake of compliance is a cultural change. It's an effort that we are doing not alone because we work very closely with the national competent authorities across Europe as well from that standpoint. So this is a dialogue we are having with them. We are having this dialogue as well with a number of stakeholders. I was discussing quite a few days ago with airports, for instance. They told me our regulation is 850 pages. And this is unmanageable, and this is not applicable as well to small or medium airports. So how do we tackle that? How do we address it in terms of implementation? That's a key element for the agency. Then obviously we need to digitalize ourselves if we want to become more efficient and effective. Before asking for more resources, we have to do our homework, making sure that we are a lean organization, that we don't waste money, that we invest again in added value processes and so on, and that we provide the industry with the right relevant tool to interact with us. Just as an example, we are in the age of the digital twins everywhere in the industry, and we are still, to a large extent, asking for paper documents, for artifacts which are the same as we were asking 20 years ago. So that's an example on how we can become more efficient, more effective as an organization. Then, obviously, we have to address as well the revenues. We are in a situation where we are not financially sustainable. We are taking every year for the last 4 years now money out of a reserve, basically, to run the organization. So this is something that we are addressing, that we will be addressing in the months to come. And finally, the last thing is that we are transiting as well with a new bunch of new colleagues who are joining us. We are facing a huge transition of generation in the agency. And this is really part of the changes that we have to manage as well as an organization to be really fit for the digital age, to be really fit for the future with this dual generation on board. So that's fresh air as well coming, and that's very nice to a certain extent, but that's as well a huge responsibility in terms of knowledge transfer.
This tells me we're 45 seconds over, but I just wanted to ask whether there's one or two questions from the audience before we head for the coffee break. No, you all want coffee now. Florian, thanks a lot. I'm supposed to tell you that. Thank you very much. That coffee is downstairs, and I think it's a 30-minute break. Yeah.